We all have scars, some visible, some buried deep. But the story of Eli and Ella reminds us that love can turn pain into purpose, and that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the bridge that leads us home. Because sometimes, the ones the world forgets are the very ones sent to remind it what humanity truly means. Years later, when Ella's art hung in museums and Eli's songs played across the world, people still spoke of them not as celebrities, but as symbols of what it means to endure, forgive, and shine. At the entrance of their foundation's headquarters stood a plaque that read, "Once abandoned in darkness, they became the bearers of light. Because kindness, once found, never dies, it multiplies." And somewhere in a quiet corner of the building, that old wooden music box still played its tune, reminding everyone who heard it that even the smallest acts of compassion can change the world. On their 34th birthday, a journalist interviewed them for a feature titled, "Remember the Abandoned Albino Twins." You won't believe what happened to them 34 years later. When asked what kept them going, Eli smiled and said, "Love. Even when the world gave us hate, we chose love. It's the only thing that truly heals." And Ella added, "We used to think we were different because we were broken. Now we know we're different because we were chosen to show what love can do." That night, after the cameras left, they sat by the piano once more. The music box still played, though its notes were faint and trembling with age. Eli looked at his sister. "Do you ever think about them, the kids still waiting to be seen?" She nodded. "Every day. But maybe our story helps someone believe they are not forgotten." Eli smiled softly. Then it was all worth it. They sat there, the melody filling the room, the same tune that had once comforted them in the rain. Only now, it carried a new meaning. Not sorrow. Not loss. But peace. In the years that followed, the twins founded the Light Within Foundation, dedicated to supporting children born with albinism, especially in places where they face discrimination. They traveled to Africa, Asia, and Latin America, meeting children who, like them, once felt invisible. Ella would paint murals with local artists, filling walls with radiant, hopeful colors. Eli would sing in churches and schools, his voice echoing through halls and hearts alike. One of his songs, titled "The Color of Light," became an anthem for acceptance worldwide. "We are born of the same sun, shining in a million ways. Don't hide your glow, don't fear your shade. You are light, just light, unafraid." Their foundation built schools, funded surgeries, and created global awareness campaigns. People began to see albinism not as a defect, but as a different kind of beauty. They traveled back to Mississippi, to the same town that once cast them out. The old hospital was gone, but the orphanage still stood, weathered, nearly abandoned. Inside, they found only one remaining nun, Sister Agnes, frail and smiling through tears when she saw them. "I knew you'd do great things," she said. "You were always glowing, even in the dark." From there, they found their mother in a small hospice. She was weak, her face lined with years of regret. When she saw them, her breath caught. "I thought I'd never see you again." Ella held her hand. "You did what you thought was right. We've already forgiven you." Sarah sobbed softly. "You're even more beautiful than I imagined." She passed away that night, peacefully, holding their hands. Then, one morning, 34 years after their birth, a letter arrived for Ella. The handwriting was shaky, old. The return address was from a small town in Mississippi. It read, "Dear Ella and Eli, I am your mother. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need to tell you the truth before I go. Your father and I were young and scared. The doctor told us your condition was a curse. We believed him. We let fear win. Not a day has passed that I haven't thought about you. I saw you once on television last year, singing together, and I knew right away. You had your father's smile. I'm dying now, and I wanted to say I'm sorry. You were never unwanted. Just misunderstood. Sarah." Ella dropped the letter. Eli read it silently, tears filling his pale eyes. "Do we forgive her?" Ella whispered. Eli looked at the music box still sitting on their piano, the one from Mr. Graham. He wound it, and the familiar melody filled the room. Yes, he said softly. Because forgiveness is freedom. By the time they were 20, the Lawson twins, as they came to be known, had begun to attract attention. Eli performed at local churches, his songs about acceptance and faith moving entire congregations to tears. Ella's paintings were exhibited in small galleries, where people often wept without knowing why. They didn't chase fame, it found them. Their story, the abandoned albino twins who turned pain into purpose, spread across social media like wildfire. Interviews, documentaries, even talk shows invited them to share their message of hope. But they never forgot where they came from. Every year on their birthday, they visited St. Mary's Orphanage, donating supplies and speaking to the children. Don't hide your light, Ella would tell them. Even if the world doesn't understand it yet. And Eli would add, we are all different kinds of beautiful. Don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise. A few months later, a letter arrived at St. Mary's. A woman named Margaret Lawson, a widow teacher from Atlanta, had seen the photo of the albino twins in a magazine article about forgotten children. She wrote, "Dare I speak of something pure? I lost my own daughter years ago. If you allow me, I would love to give them a home." And so, after 12 long years, the twins finally had a family. Margaret was everything they had prayed for. She painted their room in warm yellows, not cold whites. She taught them music, art, and kindness. When neighbors stared or whispered, she held their hands proudly. "You are not mistakes," she'd say. "You are miracles." Under her care, Ella bloomed into a gifted painter. Her portraits glowed with emotion, each brushstroke filled with soul. Eli, on the other hand, found his calling in music. His voice, soft yet powerful, seemed to reach straight into people's hearts. Together, they created beauty out of the pain they once lived through. Growing up in the orphanage was never easy. But for Eli and Ella, it was even harder. Children stared. Some laughed. Some ran away in fear, whispering cruel words they didn't understand. Ghost kids, the other children called them. Cursed. God's punishment. Ella would cry at night, curling up against her brother. "Why are we so different, Eli?" she'd whisper. And Eli, always protective, would stroke her hair and say, "Because God ran out of colors when He made us, so He used light instead." That line, though spoken by a child, would one day change their destiny. Years passed, and though the world outside the orphanage moved fast, time inside those walls felt frozen. The nuns were kind but distant. Adoption requests came often, but never for them. People came for cute, normal babies. Not the pale, white-haired twins who made strangers uneasy. By the time Eli and Ella turned 12, they'd accepted that no one was coming for them. Part 2, The Music Box and the Stranger. It was a rainy afternoon when a man in a grey coat appeared at the orphanage. He was older, maybe in his 60s, with kind eyes and a soft voice. He introduced himself as Mr. Graham, a traveling photographer documenting orphanages across the country. While taking pictures, he noticed the twins sitting by the window, Ella sketching on paper scraps, Eli humming softly beside her. "What song is that?" Mr. Graham asked. Eli smiled shyly. "It's something I made up for Ella. So she won't cry when it rains." Mr. Graham's eyes softened. He sat with them, asked about their lives, their dreams. For the first time, someone listened. Really listened. Before he left, he handed them a small wooden music box. "It's old," he said, winding it once. "But it still plays a beautiful tune. Just like the both of you." When he opened it, the melody was hauntingly sweet. Ella whispered, "It sounds like hope." Mr. Graham smiled. "Exactly." He took a photo of them before leaving. That photo would later win him a national award. But it also did something far greater. It caught the attention of someone who would change everything. The winter of 1991 was the kind that beat through skin and bone. In a quiet corner of a small Mississippi town, the cries of two newborns echoed through the night, soft, frail, and unfamiliar. They were twins, born with pale skin and silvery hair, their eyes a shimmering shade of blue that almost seemed translucent under the dim hospital light. The nurses whispered. The doctor sighed. Albino twins, someone murmured. Their parents won't keep them. And they didn't. Within a week, the twins, whom the hospital staff named Eli and Ella, were left at the steps of St. Mary's Orphanage, wrapped in a thin blanket, with a single note that read, "We can't raise them. Please take care of our angels."